Just did some walking to go get some mangoes, so I'm a little out of breath. So I'm even gonna act like I can blow that for long. Went to go get some mangoes. I got some more off screen, but turned to a mango mukbang while I spiritually enlighten. I guess that's a disclaimer in case you want to see me eat a shit ton of mango, because when I eat mango, I go in on my mango. Need about 15 of the motherfuckers at a time. One will just not do. Oh, shit. See if y'all still like me after you see me eat a bunch of mango. Oh no, I think mango is a particular food. It's a little messy, especially when you eat a ripe one. It's juicy, so I don't know if one can eat it delicately, other than cutting it up like some savage. So many different types of mango too. I'm not sure how many different species. Apparently with apple, it's like, I think I remember looking it up. It said like 7,500. That's a lot of different apples. But then when you hear that number, with global trade and stuff, you only see a certain type of apple depending on where you live. Same with bananas. Like in the States, we got Chiquita, Dole. Not bad bananas. But if you had a honey banana, that completely changes the game. The honey banana. They small too, like little nugget bananas. Got a little sweet honey flavor to it as well. Hence the name. There are better ways to eat the mango, especially when you're eating it raw. As you want the core to be horizontal to your mouth. At least I find that it's easier to eat. But when it's perpendicular, now you gotta work against the wall instead of with the wall. might be a good segue to go into the topic of who you are, how you are working against yourself instead of for yourself. Most of us don't even know who we are. We grew up in a society that's already infrastructured to tell us who we are, never really giving us a chance to discover who we are. We get the illusion of free will, choice within this structure to make it seem like there is free will, that we are choosing who we want to be. But that all falls under an illusion. To be the same. You can just think of products, how they have to sell the same item over and over again to people. What up, Wops? White Anglo-Saxon person. Most people would be afraid of the wasp when they go by like that. But if you leave it be and don't act out of fear, it won't sting you. It's only when you provoke it, that's when it stings you, just like a bee. And if a bee flies around you, that means good luck, because they vibrated at I believe it's the Schumann resonance, the resonance of the earth, Gaia. I guess you would call it the love frequency. But I'm really starting not to like to use that word love. I'd rather use understanding. Love's got a bad taste connotation in my mouth now. But this mango though, it's got a good taste. You might hear that motorcycle revving in the background. I'm in the hills. I live in the bush. There's a town nearby, and a lot of guys got little bikes, mostly for being bike taxis. Helping get people around, get them to where they gotta go. Not every place you go in the world has an infrastructure designed for the people where they can just take public transit. Another thing I'm getting used to, living in Chicago, visiting New York, transportation is ubiquitous, so it's easy just to get about anywhere, anytime, as most big cities should be, working for the people, to get them around, to get them where they gotta go, wanna go. so much going on all the time. It's distracting. Your nervous system, your whole very being is disrupted. It's in shock. So it's kind of shut down, coping, running on autopilot. And since it's running on autopilot, in the zombie state, where you're just going with the flow. Which makes you an easier target, more perceptible to be like everyone and everything else. Depends culturally too. Following the trends, the fads. Got a little worm in there. Would be extra protein, but in the sense of everything becoming ephemeral, it's fads, FADS, are the new trends. Because you got a short attention span now. It's all this stuff that's out. Remember Vine? I don't know why they took away Vine. It just got replaced with like reels and shorts and all this stuff fighting and dividing your attention. But you have to stop and question, then answer, why all of this stuff fighting for my attention? What's so important about my attention? What's the intention of getting my attention? It's to put your spirit in suspension. To make you spiritually dead. Not all mango is the same. I like the Bambia mango. It's got the best taste. And when it gets ripe, it gets so ripe and juicy that the meat, the fruit, starts to kind of coagulate, kind of become more jelly-like, which is good as a preserve. I had some preserve and I put it on some bread. But you can just pretty much suck it out its casing, its shell. But it's also less stringy than some other mango, which makes mango a very good floss, but then also bad because you gotta floss that out now. It also flushes you out. Since I eat so much mango, I gotta go to the bathroom. Number one and number two. But how so much more natural and clean those are too. You can really tell signifiers of your health, of what you're putting in your body, by how it comes out. I believe these are some common mango. Got some East Indian ones too. Oh yeah, the bambia. The core just becomes like standing in its casing because all the fruit meat around it has turned into jelly. So it's kind of like meat off a bone. It's that tender, which is interesting for eating fruit to consider it tender. Oh. Gotta do some yoga soon. So juicy and messy. I have a wet towel with me when I eat it. I just feel like how many I do eat, it feels like I'm working through when I used to eat meat, particularly chicken, clean my bones, unite the cartilage. Depending on who you are and culturally, some people even take it further, eating the bone, sucking out the bone marrow. Yeah. But since you are in suspension, you are restricted from really knowing yourself, this reality, what's really going on. The truth, perception of it. Making you even more lost. More complacent to believe a reality you've been given. But we're in the time of the age of the Aquarius. The water, the subconscious, the truth. What lies beneath. Just waiting to emerge like the lotus. I've never done a mukbang before. Well, I'm calling it a mukbang because I'm just eating mango. Never really watched a mukbang either. I know they sit with the camera pointed at them and they just eating. And you're just watching them eat. Which is also an interesting thing. You can just watch a video of somebody eating so much food. Oh, the strange things we're into. But I hope this is a little more exciting, enticing, since I'm talking also. And what I would like to think, spitting some wisdom. Slowly but surely, I need to stay up on the news, though I don't look at the news that much because it's just a bunch of bukkake. I even made a recent post. It's about the Vatican releasing what they call it, statements and about the apparitions and shit. Which, not exactly outside their wheelhouse. Wheelhouse? Let's say forte. But things are going to start becoming a lot stranger. From how I've been living my life and what I've been finding out and experiencing. Reality ain't quite what we thought it is. How much has been hidden, how much looks so normal that to even question it, you'd be like, ha, you talking bullshit, you talking crazy. Until you start to understand it. They're already talking about aliens, giants, how we be discovering the lost civilizations, the ancient civilizations, long forgotten history, stuff before our time frame. If you watch Ancient Apocalypse, fitting, on Netflix, you talk about the different monuments and structures, how they all have a corresponding from different cultures, they all have a corresponding relay to the stars, particularly Sirius, the dog star. And they know. That's why they came out with Sirius XM, satellite radio broadcast. The universe doesn't speak English. Or any other language other than signs and symbols. It's all math, music, waiting to be decoded, encoded. Your connection to the divine, the universe, source, great spirit, God, has been tampered. And that's why you are spiritually dead, in zombie mode, not knowing who you are, just going with the crowd. Being another clone. An artificial intelligence. See how much of these mangoes I eat. I already had some before filming. So nope. So a lot of the conspiracy theories you hear sound wackadoo to you because you grew up in a structured reality to make you think one way, never to really question anything, telling you this is what it is, what it ain't, to obey. I mean, think about the things you don't really question. how much you don't question. You just follow the rules. And deep down, you know, your soul knows, your spirit knows. It just doesn't know the way out, how to get out, how to be back to being in alignment. But it knows. That's why we self-medicate. Drinking too much, overeating, over-smoking, doing other hardcore drugs, getting into vices, all to make up for the fact of the lack of control we have over ourselves, our life, the truth. Not only does eating a certain mango get stringy in my teeth, but since my facial hair is so long and thin, it gets caught in my teeth too when trying to take a bite and stuff. Beards look nice, but they're not without their setbacks. You gotta clean out the food and yeah. But I'm living naturally, growing my hair out naturally. Plus, I think I look better with a beard, so it's staying. So messy. And within being spiritually dead and finding ways to cope, to numb ourselves, it also makes us arrogant in the sense that we think that we know, understand everything already for some reason. Probably because we have the internet, you feel like you can look up, know anything at the tip of your fingers. Or to ask AI. It also feeds into the illusion of how advanced we are. I would ask you to question how advanced we are. In so little time. I'm 34, about to be 35 soon, but I remember dial-up growing up, rotary phones. Very interesting how we can advance so fast technologically, but socially there seems to be some delay. We can organize to come together. I guess within that we, the powers that be, can organize to come together to do the Olympics, to do other world events, global infrastructure, but can't seem to find a way to find peace, not go to war. Right now, we're currently in nuclear war threatening, World War III. Got the war in Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Russia, all the other wars. Wars you don't even know about, I don't know about. So much effort being put in to destroy life, not preserve it. The way we make so much waste. Overused products. Think about that too. If you go into one store, say like a Target, Walmart, think of how much product is in there. Think of everything on the shelves, the clothing, health and beauty, furniture, electronics. That's just one store. Now that store is globally, and that's just that chain. Think of all the other stores and chains. I know they say they got warehouses and factories that make all this stuff and blah blah blah, but to that extent, to reach the globe, that don't seem physically possible. Also questioned these cities, how much is here and there. Since like the industrial age, to mass construction, you got all these roads, these houses, these buildings over the past, gotta be like within 50 years to be this massive. But how can it be this massive? Like all this stuff is just here already. And we weren't like, shit, global connection probably happened since what? 70s? Since commercial flights? Then you go to these cities, how well developed they are, and just even walking in neighborhoods, especially like if you live in big cities instead of small towns, you're like, when did all this get built? Been living in Chicago. Damn, when was that fire? 1819. Even that story. Fucking cow in a barn. What? Kicks over a little gas lantern. And that produces a fire that burns down the whole fucking city. I know those before hydrants, fire department, and all that shit, but nobody could put out the fire before it spread that much. And I think even in the pictures, there's some brick buildings. And if you know brick and fires, they don't burn down that easily. So you gotta question what actually caused that fire. how are they able to rebuild such massively since then? I guess you could even say that for Japan. They got nuked. That was back in, when was Hiroshima and Nagasaki? During World War II, so it's 45. That was the end of the war. You see construction going on. And you can see how long projects take to build. And so when you look around and see everything here, knowing it had to be constructed, you had to wonder when and how long that was. It seemed like nobody would have a job other than construction. Everybody just building to get to the level we are of civilization, society. Not sure what this mango is called, but I like it because it kind of does that sunset look to it. Might be too ripe, so we'll see. Because it might just taste like water, no sweetness. It's edible. Another thing also with construction, especially for the big skyscrapers, cranes. You see them, but you never really see them go up or down or being transported. They're kind of just there. I don't know if anybody else thought about that. It's just something I noticed. I remember being in Colorado, driving through the mountains, and you hit traffic because they transporting just one little propeller to a wind turbine. So I've at least seen that in transport, but cranes and stuff, and to see how they construct it, you got this skinny little vertical. Then you got the crane part, the compartment where the driver sits and the arms. Then you got to put the counterweight on in the back, and it's way up there in the air. How do they put the? You got small cranes to build these other cranes. And if that being so, you never really see it. Or I never really seen it. Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But the probability of never seeing it with how much construction goes on, call me suspicious. It's another thing with being spiritually dead, not knowing who you are. So much you don't pay attention to that you should. It's just kind of out of sight, out of mind. Distracted. So focused, looking somewhere else, especially our phones, TV, being inside, getting inebriated, numbed. Never really questioning anything, just going along with what's accepted. I washed clothes and washed up today. It's amazing. I was coming up with a new quote or something. It's like, sometimes you take a shower just to get sweaty again. Sometimes you get clean just to get messy again. Other than the talking, I think I'm doing this mukbang thing right. I don't know. You're just eating, right? On camera. A solo moderately paced fast food competition. Yeah, watching those too. Watching people just stuff their face just to see how much food they could put away. Strange creatures we are. Since we're so spiritually dead, locked in, man behind the curtain pulling the strings, we're reaching a point where we in Revelations, if you want to put it to something, Revelations reveal apocalypse, veil being lifted, age of truth. So a lot more of what's really going on which they already tell you. It's in the media they show you. It's just disguised as stories, science fiction, entertainment. I'm also doing this because I'm hungry for mango right now. But also to help with my vulnerability. Because I'm eating on camera, then I want to post it. So I kind of have to not care about how I'm going to look. How people are going to view me. Are you more likely to take what I'm saying as the most important thing, or be so disgusted by me eating mango on camera? Will you hear my words? Will you resonate with my words? I don't know. It's up to you. That is up to you. I want to describe this moment that's about to happen, how it's going to happen, the great reveal. Like when you watch their movies in general. I guess you could even take Harry Potter. Him just living a normal life, and all of a sudden he found out he's a wizard, that wizards exist, this whole magical world exists. You can even take the Marvel movies. People are like, superheroes are real, aliens, dimensions, all that shit. Just going along normally, thinking you know what you think you know, but you actually have no idea. Then you're totally shocked by some supernatural, magical phenomena which exist, because you have to take in the stories, mythologies. I got a whiff of weed. I was like, I'm up in the hills. Where's that coming from? Somebody smoking like a chimney. I mean, to smell it like that. But even, take all the myth and legends, going back to that ancient apocalypse, how you got all these different cultures, got these different monuments, and how they all can connect to the Sirius star constellation. But then if you're a history, knowledge, intellectual, if you read the myths and legends, how they all have some kind of common story, some Jesus type figure, a flood, supernatural. Back then, I doubt they were sitting around making up stories how we do today for entertainment. They were writing what they know, saw, Then you got all these ancient monuments that actually physically exist. Who made them? If you going back to construction, how we use construction today with these modern technologies, cranes and lasers and all this stuff. And these civilizations existed before all that. And you're like, how did they build that? How's that physically possible? I know with the pyramids, people are like, oh, slave labor. And they, even beyond having mass people doing stuff, some stuff is still physically beyond any amount of people being involved. And in these ancient stories, there's stories about a figure, a being, an entity coming and teaching people how to basically be a civilization, how to live, how to be. So maybe that's what we get now, as a truth, the veil being lifted, coming to get some help, because we failing as a society, a civilization, how much we continue to keep allowing and tolerating. And all this shit illegal anyway, we just tolerate it as legitimate because the ones in power, and not even the ones actually in the field, they got their little foot soldiers with the weapons, law enforcing. If it was true law, you wouldn't need to enforce it, especially with guns and weapons. A bunch of fucking bullies going around determining, pushing their agenda, enforcing it, using force. And if you don't play ball, well, they'll strike you out. And due to self-preservation and fear, most of us don't want to be struck out, so we just take it, go along accepting it. Because imagine breaking any law. Who's to know? Other than the universe, who's to know that you didn't do this and this? If there's no record of it, no one saw it, who, only you would know. If you look up your birth certificate, it's basically your bondage. It looks like a bond, dealing with money, merchandise. Basically sold into slavery as soon as you're born, as soon as your parents sign that document, they sell you over to the state, to the government. I still need to look it up, but apparently your birth certificate is traded on the stock market. Never been to jail or prison in this lifetime, I guess. But how they give you a cell number? They give you like inmate number blah blah blah. It's your social security number. It's your prison number. In the yard you get to walk around, that's just society. But if you think about the military, the armed guards, they everywhere. You gotta have identification to do any fucking thing. They determine when you can leave, how long you can stay somewhere else, taking away your sovereignty. And we just go along accepting it. Man, it's part of it, it's the rules. Like, whose rules? Ain't nature's rules, ain't the universe rules, ain't God's rules. And if you think man is above that, you take a look at all these natural disasters. When drought hits, when famine hits, when viruses hit, even though some of those can also be man-made. Also, my other videos, you see me toke up a little bit just to get the energy flowing, but I don't always want to do that. I want to be able to tap in, connect to source soberly as well. I don't want to hinder or use a coping or segue, or what's the word I'm looking for? I guess in sports you can say doping. They get an extra leg up. But also as a reassurance to myself that, like, oh, my process is working. I'm able to still tap in and connect and be without having to take a stimulant. Is that the word I'm looking for? To get that frequency. Not now, but being here where I am. Mango has become my favorite fruit. And this is the most amount of mango I've ever eaten in my whole life. I'm very grateful for it. It's got magnesium too, so increasing my magnetism, a better connection to source. Got my antennas growing on my ether. Get some nude sunbathing, absorbing that melanin, getting darker. Trying to go Super Saiyan. Basically, if you want to know who you are, what's going on, pretty much almost have to completely, I had to and continue to want to disconnect from this reality that you think is reality. You got to go through a rebirth, a reprogramming, a realignment to see it for what it really is, to become part of what really is. It's going to help make you become more of who you are. You got to connect back to source. It's what you are, it's what you're a part of. For all the universe experiencing itself. So you have to connect back to the universe, to source, to know who you are, to understand what this is. Because if you don't, you'll stay lost in the sauce, being directed by basically these malevolent entities have taken over this reality, and now they play in theater camp, putting on a fucking production of, I don't know what the fuck you even call it, other than a shit show. But since the veil's being uplifted, it's about to be curtain call on this production. And it's hard to get back to the universal truth, to being, to restabilize, to realign, when you're addicted to the reality you've known your whole life. You got to go through that detox, which ain't easy. It's a process. I didn't really start till like the end of 2019, early 2020. Still going through it, as there are still trials and tribulations to go through. It's a waxing and waning, so the progression, regression takes cycling. And in this fake reality, they made instant gratification. It's everything you want now. There's no waiting. You can't just sit and wait. That's why you get agitated when you're not being stimulated in some way, which would be hard for you to meditate, to just be. Right now I'm just talking to my phone, eating mango, sitting on a cliff looking out at the mountains, city, the sea. I barely use my phone these days. Watch TV, listen to music. I'm out in nature. Living life is the work, but they supplement it by making you go to these jobs that they call work, so you can earn a living, to buy food, which is already free, grown by nature, and for water, which is provided by nature, housing, which is provided by nature, your learning, which is provided by nature. If you go within, you learn by doing, by living. I don't know how many people are actually happy with life. How can you be actually happy if you don't know who you are? That's why we all got these faux relationships where we think it's on par with what it needs to be, because we watch their media. In their media, we assume to take it as, oh, this is how people are supposed to act. This is how, yeah. Becomes a feedback loop. So you start to, life is imitation. That's how we learn. So we start to imitate what we see, because we're such visual creatures. If you think from growing up, from being a child, you don't really know language or what things are. So you start to go through the training process of associating this with that. They'll start with pictures, go to words. But you gotta learn the words, the letters. Then you start to associate those. Then you start to test yourself with the association, because the association can be flipped. If you saw the word red, but it was in the color yellow, how would you know what's true and false? Without already knowing the basis of seeing the word red, seeing the color red. But if you were never taught that first, like, oh, this is how you spell red. And this is how red looks. Yellow. Looks like, So your association with things have been cross-looped and you've accepted it as reality. They made whole institutions of this shit. We go to their schooling and program centers. Then you watch television, they call it TV programming. Telling lies to your vision. Just the shit we get used to, man. Just watching reality TV. Like, this is how people act. Or talk shows. You're like, where they getting all these people? Especially the audience members. Who's like, yeah, I want to spend my days sitting here watching this shitty ass drama. I'm so addicted to drama. Especially if you watch, like, I don't watch it, like Real Housewives. Real World. Just all this fake ass shit. The Bachelor, Bachelorette. No wonder we're so confused about love. If that was you in real life, you would not accept that. On TV, somebody going on a date with 25 people, they already got a 4% chance. And as people get eliminated, it increases their chances. But ain't no way you allow, put up with somebody you after, trying to date, talk to 24 other motherfuckers too. And spend a long time kissing with them and shit. And the shit you get used to, when you start allowing it and accepting it for normalcy. And you wonder why shit's so fucked up. Why you were fucked up. Could be slippery. Then you got all this YA stuff. You fucking 30-year-olds playing high schoolers. It's like, they in high school, man. What the fuck is going on? All this drama, like Euphoria. Like, y'all in high school? Y'all dealing with all this? And I mentioned in another video about, what's her name? Sydney Sweeney. Beautiful. And yeah, she does have nice boobs. And like I mentioned in that video, they playing high schoolers. I'm not sure how old she is. And she showed her boobs. So if she was really in high school, under 18, that would be a no-go for TV. Unless it's like independent or European or where they respect the body more and actually show it for its artfulness versus how we do here in America, its pervertedness. I mean, look at the old, with the, what's her face, Paris Hilton and the Hardee's commercials. Or anything for dudes with hot women and shit. No wonder toxic masculinity exists. Everything is made to make them horned up, acting like little children. Or that pedophilia exists because you got fucking 30-year-olds in these high school roles. So now you're seeing older people as younger. How that seeps into reality of how the younger imitates the older. So your signals are getting crossed with what's actually right to do and wrong to do, what's actually legitimate